Well, let's stay in the region and focus on Zimbabwe now. A disturbing news article in the Daily Maverick today. It's published the first part of a report into the criminal networks that seem to have captured Zimbabwe and very likely destroyed the hopes that a post-Mugabe nation could revive its fortunes. The report, a study of cartel dynamics, believes up to half of that country's GDP is being robbed by these cartels. And I'm joined now by Mark Haywood, editor of Maverick Citizen. Hi there, Mark. So this 64-page report explains that there are various networks operating, not against state officials, but it seems hand in hand with some corrupt authorities. And we're talking about things like cross-border gold and diamond smuggling. Just paint the picture for us. What is going on?
Good evening, Sally. Yes. Well, the report that you're referring to is a report that we published this morning in Maverick Citizen. We published it here because the authors who are in Zimbabwe would face probably arrest and certainly intimidation were they to do it there. And that's because the report, if you like, lifts the lid on collusion between senior people in government right up to the president. And business leaders and politically connected business leaders, basically to fleece the public purse and to make money and to make profit out of it. And what's going on is at enormous cost to the ordinary Zimbabwean, where there is starvation and extreme hunger throughout the land, where 90% of people who are employed in the informal sector rather than the formal sector. So what I think is important about the report is that it goes beyond just calling out corruption and looting and actually reveals the modus operandi by which money is being shifted from public to private, but then from private into ZANU-PF in order to help politicians and ZANU-PF in particular to retain power. So it's a circle of collusion and corruption that is integral to the economy in Zimbabwe at this moment in time. How long has it been going on for? It's been going on for a very, very long time. It didn't start with the current president. It probably even pre-existed independence in 1980, but certainly former President Mugabe refined it, used it himself as a prop to power. I think the problem is that it's got worse since 2017. You know, despite all the promises of the new government to clean up, to be transparent, to be accountable, what's really happened is there's been a few shifts in alliances and in relationships between business and senior politicians,
Mark,
but no fundamental change.
I know that the Zimbabwe government was given a chance to answer and they chose not to respond. I'm wondering if they have said anything since it's come out, but it wouldn't surprise me because we've heard this sort of response before in Zimbabwe that, oh, this is just propaganda. So can you tell us how this information was obtained and how confident are you that it is accurate?
I am 100% confident that it's accurate. You know, I've been working on this for several months with the people involved. I had to be assured before I considered, or we considered publishing it, that the report was 100% accurate. I had it independently fact-checked. If you look at the report, you'll see it has 300 or 400 references to certain allegations and statements that it makes. And the way the report was written was that it's largely a review of the literature in a myriad of different press reports. But what it does is it joins the dots. It puts a whole picture together where in the past there was only fragmentation. And it's also linked to interviews with a number of people. Unfortunately, again, none of those people can be named because it's not safe for them to be named. But I can tell you, I can put my hand on my heart and say that this report is an accurate reflection of the state of corruption and collusion in that country at the moment.
And it sounds like state capture on steroids, entrenched over decades. You make the point in your article that in South Africa we have a free media, we have a very strong civil society that speaks out about corruption and holds society to account, because of course it takes private business to be involved in collusion to get these sorts of corrupt acts going with government. Those efforts, of course, though, that strong media, strong civil society is being undermined in Zimbabwe. Just Hopewell Chinono is just one example of a journalist who's been repeatedly imprisoned on trumped-up charges. So what can be done in Zimbabwe, if anything? Because we're certainly seeing even the lawyers protesting around what's happening to the Constitution, how it's being abused at times, even in the courts. What is happening in Zimbabwe about this, if anything? And does that mean, as a neighbour, we should be doing more here in South Africa to help?
Well, a couple of things, Sally. The first thing is it is state capture on steroids. One of the things that I've said is this is what state capture would have looked like in South Africa if it had achieved mission accomplished. If it wasn't for the fight back from civil society and the trade unions and the churches. That's, I think, is what's important about this report. The second thing is to say, and this is again why we agreed to publish, is that we are very much implicated and complicit in the crisis in Zimbabwe as South Africans, because the report shows how a lot of diamond smuggling, tobacco smuggling, how South Africa and South Africans and South African business people working under the radar of SARS and so on are the recipients of goods that are underpriced initially when they're taken out of Zimbabwe, then inflated in price. There's all sorts of tricks. So yes, there are things that we can do by policing our own backyard properly in the interests of the Zimbabwe economy. The other thing is that our government needs to take a stronger position on ZANU-PF and corruption and misgovernment. We're constantly making excuses for them, but at the same time then trying to push Zimbabweans who come to South Africa because they can't find jobs or because they can't eat back into that country. So there are political fixes to this crisis, but it requires a much more honest foreign policy than we have at the moment in relation to that country.
Oh, keep up the good work, and thank you very much for bringing the story to us. Mark Hayward, he is, of course, the editor of Maverick.